back to the Dane and Josh show. Dane sends his love as he does a lot throughout the week. He's calling games and whatnot and doing sports assignments, but that just gives me more time to do my favorite part in studio with, the musicians and artists that I love and all that. So this one, I actually don't have an opening useless or useful fact. I've more got a story for you. This band, there's a member of the band we'll be showcasing here in a few moments. This band, I remember the first time I heard them. My uncle and I, this is probably late 96, 1997, had this old beat up Volkswagen Bug. And we're rolling around at about 11 o'clock at night. And I've just got out like a youth service type thing. And we hear the station come on called Z91 in Kansas. And I hear this track come on. And I'm like, what is this? And it's just awesome. It has this riff is just kicking it. This dude singing singing out of his mind, just incredible. It was a song called By God. And I look it up and I'm like, wait a minute, this is a band called Disciple. Who is this? And lo and behold, 30 years later, I'm still jamming to this band. And over the years, they've integrated pieces to it, and they picked up, in my opinion, one of the best shredders in the game, one of the greatest, I don't know how to say this, how the greatest guitarist of our generation, has been known all around the realm, knows all kinds of things, knows everybody. So I don't want to waste any more time. I just want to get to it and bring on Josiah Prince. Josiah, how you doing, my friend?
Wait, that was all about me? Are you kidding me?
How you doing, brother?
I'm fine. I'm honored. Thanks for all that, and that's so cool, and that's a really cool story. And just to join you on that, we all love it, all of us new guys in the band. I say new. I've been in for 11 years, but all of us newer guys love the old stuff like that. And By God's actually one of our favorites to play. We pull it out every now and then, and those old school songs like that just have such a different kind of raw energy, compared with the kind of stuff we do now, which is still heavy, just a different kind of heavy. But that's really cool.
It's cool, man, because I no joke. I remember the original crew. We saw one time. There's a little spot they came through called the Foundry before.
Cool.
So it was just insane, man. And then when you got with the band, which again, you've been known, Yogi knows of you for Demon Hunter. You're just known as being this powerhouse, right? A great shredder and a great musician, not just rock, but just a great musician. So I'm so glad that this juggernaut of a band picked up someone to make them even better, man. So
well, and I think, to be fair, a lot of for all of us, because we've got a guy in the band named Andrew Stanton, who's the other guitar player. We got Joey West on drums, and all three of us kind of came in around the same time. We call ourselves Disciple 3.0. And I would say that being in Disciple has kind of given us the opportunity to kind of become, I think, a lot of the things that we wanted to do and maybe had in us, but hadn't quite realized yet. And so super grateful for being in Disciple and kind of having the opportunity to, do stuff on a certain level, and even just meet other bands at a different level and other artists and get to work with them. And so yeah, being a Disciple, I think, is very much a big responsible part of my journey, and same for the other guys too. It's just really cool to see.
Yeah, we know Joey. We've had Joey on in season 1, and Joey's
great.
Awesome dude. So you're everyone. You guys have this infectious, in the nicest way I can say it. You have this positive aggression about all of you, where it's like it makes you want to go do stuff. Like I want to listen. Like if I go running, like I did a 3-mile run this morning, I'm playing attack. Right? You make us want to go do stuff. It's like
that's awesome.
Anyway, so let me hunker down for a minute. I've got some questions of the audience.
Come on.
And so the first one, as we think about the years of playing, man, before Disciple and working with our buddy Nate and Don and all the product that you've done, and just be kind of going beyond Disciple and being this producer and virtuoso. Take me back to when it began, man. When did you first start playing? Was it even guitar, or when did you first start playing music?
It was drums, actually, funny enough. So that was like my first, thing that drew me in at age 9, I think. And loved playing drums, and I was homeschooled and a pastor's kid. And so, being a pastor's kid is kind of great because you get a kind of a layup into playing your instrument live, because you get to just play in the praise band. We had a small church in North Carolina where I'm from. And so basically, as soon as I was able to keep a beat, I was the drummer on Sunday mornings. And so, that's that right there. We always tell people who go to church and who play in youth group or whatever, that's really one of the best ways to get your chops, because it's not just about playing notes, but it's like you have to play in a situation with other people and kind of feel your role in the group. And that's something that you can do in a band, just in your garage, but there's like an added pressure, when you're playing every week on Sunday, even though the stakes are low, there's still kind of that pressure that makes you better and sharpens you. And so that was, a lot of my origin story was, yeah, just playing at church. And then uh, for me, like I said, I love drums. I love the energy of drums. But once I picked up a guitar and like found a chord chart for a song and realized, oh, I can actually by myself right now in my room, like make a song happen. Because with drums, it was always, putting my headphones on, playing along to something, or cranking up the stereo and playing along. Um, but for me, I think that's when I probably, without realizing it, was really started chasing the idea of like creating songs and writing and arranging songs. Was when I realized, oh, with the guitar, I can actually sit here and do this, and I can sing the parts, I can play the chords, I can play lead, whatever. And so it was probably around age 11. I was doing guitar, and so instantly started writing songs. Instantly, just tried to emulate songs and bands that I liked, and it was all really, really bad. But but that's what it takes. I tell people now, it's like you got to write a lot of bad, or at least a lot of mediocre songs before you get to the good ones. So thankfully, I got to the good ones eventually.
But see, it's neat, man. I think about, I'm like you. I started our band, our first layer, before we kind of just retired and went a different direction. We did the whole interchangeable. We played at church, same thing, right? You cut your teeth on playing 3 or 4 hours, especially if it was like an Easter service where like we're here all day, right? Like you
Yeah,
said, you're playing live and those
yeah.
kind of things, and it helps you cut your teeth. I remember I started with drums too. Me and Joey had talked about this. My first album I ever cut my teeth to, man. Maybe you know this, playing drums, was this Carlton Pearson live album, dude. I played it on
Mm,
repeat over and over again,
nice.
right? Like you put, back then we put our headphones on and
Yep.
just a little this man, you just go to
Discman. Yeah.
town. You know what I'm
Totally.
saying, man?
Oh yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I'm with you right there. And when you spoke about guitar, because I know, that age, 11, 12, I remember my dad got my first Roadster for me. What was your first, like, not maybe the beginning, what was your first baby, your first real guitar? What kind was it?
Yeah. So there was a company called Hamer that was kind of a good like consumer level beginner intermediate level guitar, but it looked amazing. It was a double cutaway, like Les Paul style, or double Gibson style double cutaway Hamer, beautiful like red burst kind of finish. And that was the one that my parents got me when they could tell I was really serious. And man, I loved that thing and just felt like a rock star holding it and playing it. And around that time, I joined a band in high school, and we were, you do the things you do. You're in a
Yeah,
band in high school. You play some local shows. You play at some churches, some talent shows, and
nice.
we were terrible, but again, it's just kind of that next step. You just take those next steps. So yeah, that guitar was really special for sure. And then I'm pretty sure I was really obsessed with the guitar spinning and stuff, and like doing the stage tricks, and pretty sure I broke it. Oh yeah, I eventually broke it on my drummer's hand actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate. He was terrible, which that tells you right there I was doing it really irresponsibly. If I was close enough to our drummer to smash him in the hand with the guitar, uh, but he was not. We weren't even playing the song. He was adjusting his hi-hats, and I was standing too close to him and threw this guitar around my neck, and the
True
headstock
rock star.
the headstock hit him in the hand and split the neck down the side.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so
And,
and
and
that's
Bill,
not the worst. I've had way worse guitar breaks, but that was pretty bad. I felt bad.
in the classic Billy Gibbons style, huh? Twisting the
Yeah,
guitar and there it goes. I love it, man. So,
yeah,
do you still connect with those guys from the high school band, or you guys?
yeah. I actually, it's so funny because there was several guys in the band, that all of which I'm still in touch with and friends with, and two of them are twin brothers, our singer and bass player, and they were actually going to come out this month to record a song. They do folk music in the Western North Carolina area. They're
Nice.
really good, like cool kind of folk rock stuff. And we've been talking this year about getting together and me producing a song for them. So it's kind of this really cool full
Awesome,
circle
man.
thing that it will be
Oh,
happening
cool.
eventually. So yeah, it's fun.
Nice, dude. So from like kind of punk early on to full, that's cool, dude. So,
Yeah.
and looking at the catalog, man, because I told you I've seen you guys play several times, and you guys, stadium fillers without a doubt every time. There's always everyone has a different answer. Like I remember our buddy Mikey from Islander talked about his favorite shows being different. And then, Joey even said he wanted, I think it was Bridgestone where he's from. I'm pretty sure. I may be wrong. but everyone's got like a show they play where it's like that's so far been that marquee, most important to you, and they're all great. No disrespect that, but is there maybe a gig or two that you played? It's like, man, this is special
Yeah,
so far.
yeah, definitely. I mean, probably I don't know when you had Joey on, but yeah, we played Winter Jam, this past spring, and got to play at. There were two for me. Bridgestone in Nashville was really special because I live here in Nashville. Um, Lived here for 10-ish years, and we played. Which, first of all, it really was like one of the nicest. We played 40 arenas, and it was easily with top three as far as just the niceness of the arena itself, which I'd been there for hockey games and stuff, but kind of going through it backstage and everything, I was like, man, this actually is like a really, really wonderful arena. But then just getting to have my wife and kids there and other family. So that was super special to play in front of them. And then we did play in Charlotte at the arena there, the basketball arena for the Charlotte Hornets,
Oh, cool.
which is another one of the best, like coolest arenas on the tour. And that's my hometown. So I had a lot of family there as well. So those two were definitely like,
That's awesome.
big life moments. Other than that, the other show I think of a lot is my old band Philmont, who was together for 7 years. We got to go play my first international thing ever. Played at a festival in Holland, called Flavo Festival in 2009. And that was just, we played main stage. We had no business playing, such a big show overseas, super excited crowd. And it was just like full production. First time I'd ever played on a stage so big with a giant LED wall. And so that was like a really just like, that's one I always think of as a really
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
special first moment.
It's like and they say this a lot. And Philmont's great, dude. I don't know how I never put the connection together. That's awesome. I
Yes,
remember it's
sir.
another one of those bands where it's like over the years, just listening to it, those flagship bands for the genre of what you guys are a part of. That's cool.
Thanks,
So,
man.
well, and then doing it overseas, that's cool. And the rock scene's so different overseas. They say it's like,
Yes.
even though it's big here, and we've got these factions of rockers here. Would you probably agree it's just huge overseas? Or?
Well, yeah, and it's more like the geography is way more concentrated. So, over here we can spend all this time touring, and just the United States, it's like we have cities that we know are going to be great if we go to these certain cities or certain areas. But a lot of times you got to travel many, many hours to get, anywhere. And we're also touring year round, so there's not as much like exclusivity to any particular show. We might come back to that same area 6 months from now. When we go to play, especially in Germany, is a place that loves Disciple and has for decades now. When we go play over there, first of all, it's probably going to be the only time we play there that year, if not, a couple years. And then also you have people who can travel from all the surrounding countries that are only a couple hours away, and so they're all kind of making this journey to experience this thing. So just when you get in the room, you just feel this different kind of energy and anticipation. That's really, there's nothing like it in the States. And that's no knock. Again, it's just a different situation. And so, yes, we always work, and we're heading to Germany in a few weeks to play a festival
man.
that we are very excited about. So it's always great. I've played there probably 10 or 11 times now with Disciple, and it's always
Cool.
incredible.
It's so cool, man. And as I transition, I say this when I look over the years, and I've watched a ton of your guys' interviews. I'm always, that's what kind of the things what you guys do kind of help motivate me. Just watching content from the early days of Kevin to even Joey just did one recently, kind of talking about anxiety on the road, right?
Yeah.
The things that you guys do, and there's always been this massive influence. And what stood out to me from early on is we respect all views and all mindsets, and we love that you guys are very strong in what you believe, and you also make it to where you don't have to. There used to be this when I was growing up. There was like this. Okay, here's like rock, and here's like the other stuff, right? Like there was never able to bring it together and make great music. You know what I'm talking about? In the early days, right? And so bands like you guys have made it where, hey, look, it's just music. We can write about what's important to us and still call it rock. Just like we talk about Kill Switch or Disciple, Metallica, Disciple, the same breath, right? It can be, our content may be different, but we're all musicians. We're all professionals, great at our craft. And you guys have made that more normal, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks, man. That's awesome. That's really cool. And we have those conversations sometimes where it's like, you're exactly right. For us, we're just trying to write songs and write songs about our experiences. And for us, we are believers in Jesus. And so that informs a lot of our experience. but it's also I think probably when the band was on a major label for 5 albums, there was probably a lot more of those kind of conversations of making sure that the message was, in line with X, Y, and
Yeah.
Z. But since we've been independent since that Attack album,
Yeah.
it really has just been that mentality of we're just going to write what we want to write and talk about what we think is valuable or important or relevant. And sometimes that's even been a little scary with writing songs that are like darker and more just kind of existing in a dark place and not necessarily giving the end of the song that redeems it or has this hopeful point,
Yeah.
right? Because that's always the temptation when you're coming from the Christian music world is, well, should we wrap in this thing that kind of resolves this conflict? And especially on our Love Letter Killshot album from a few years
Yeah.
ago, there were several songs that were
Panic
just
Room, man.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, Panic Room, exactly, and several other songs like that were just kind of in that dark place and weren't really offering the answer per se, but it was just an honest expression. And what we
Yeah.
got, we were like I said, we were a little nervous about it. What we got was so much feedback of people saying, "Oh my gosh, that's exactly how I feel," and I'm so glad that you wrote that song. And because sometimes you don't feel the hope or the answer, but having a song written that you relate to shows you that you're not alone and that there's sympathy out there from others, and that other people who are touring musicians and songwriters and putting songs on the radio and stuff have these same problems or same issues and journeys. And so that's been really cool for us. So that was super encouraging, and it just validated that idea even more that, hey, we just need to write what we're going through, and we'll make sure it's good, but we don't have to massage it in any direction
Yeah.
for it to work commercially.
It's so, and man, like I said, Panic Rooms. I go album by album. I think about from day one, each album, right? Like something from each album that stood out to me, and that's always been when you guys did that collab with Andrew on that song. Because I even
Yeah.
Kevin even talked about like, hey, if I had, he's breaking down how it's okay for someone that may have strong faith to still have problems and depression. And it's neat that it's real, and it's like that makes it even more respectful. Like, hey, we're not going to paint the picture that it's all all perfect. It's okay to be real, and that's just makes you guys even greater than you already were. Like, hey, we're real people. I love that.
Thanks,
And
man.
there's
Well, and two, it's like if you look across the album, there's going to be the ups and downs,
yeah,
and so if someone needs that song that is the hope, we have a song for that. We have Fire Away on that album, or Best Thing Ever, or other songs that are way more positive. And so it's like when you look at the body of work, kind of like you said, it's like you've got kind of all sides of it, and that's what we want to show. Is we don't want to ever go out and just write an album that's all dark or all
right.
this or all that. Again, it's just every album is the sum of several years of our lives. And what are years of your life like? You have ups and downs. And so
That's awesome.
I think we're always gonna end up with an album that has both and has, the nuance and the kind of all over the spectrum
Mm-hmm.
kind of experiences. And I love that.
I think because like we make it a standpoint, we respect all opinions and beliefs, and it's cool whatever where people stand. Right? I remember we were watching interview with Randy of Red one time, and he was like, people ask him, and they were asking Corey from Seether, who have kind of very very different philosophical views. Right? It's like
Sure.
you don't have to say I'm this and here's my music. It's just like you said, just circling back to we're making music, and this is our lens of how we look through it. Right? So I just anyway,
Yeah.
man, I could go on about that, man. Just the influences. With that being said, the huge influence you and and what you've done has left on my life, even the way you play, and just again having kind of a song for every moment. I am curious though, man, because when I hear you write, and I'm like, I really try to when I watch you play, I can't put a finger on it. Like I hear Def Leppard, then I also hear pieces of like Deftones. I hear some
Cool.
Motley Crue, but then I also hear like some Kill Switch. I hear some Adam D. Then I hear some Fred. I hear some like Wes Borland. I can't figure
Yeah.
you out. So who's your influence, man? Like you're kind of this own unique thing. Who
Well, it's
influences you to
funny.
play?
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, early on, I was very much influenced by like performers and more so than like guitarists, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
I would see bands playing on stage, and I would just say, "Oh, I got to do that. I've got to go, do that." And I just want to jump around and, you know, yeah, spin my guitar and do all this crazy stuff. So like
yeah,
Story of the Year was one of my favorite bands back in the day, and I loved a lot of the emo stuff. So like My Chemical Romance and The Used, and
yeah.
and so a lot of it was kind of from that, and then a lot of pop punk, obviously Blink-182, Yellow Card, Reliant K was huge as well for me, and so but it was always just like, man, I just want to get up on stage and have the time of my life. You know what I mean? And so the guitar playing actually kind of came later. Like I played guitar, but like my focus on guitar kind of came later. And it was one of those things like playing in Philmont. It was
Yeah.
not necessary to be a like guitar guy. You know, it was really just like chords and octaves and some lead stuff, but it's very much so just like a high energy kind of project. And then it was really kind of getting into Disciple was when I was like, oh, like I've really got to like up my game and sharpen my skills because this is a guitar band, you know. And so it was a slow process, but super grateful for the patience from Kevin. And because Andrew came in at around, like I said, around the same time as me, and he was a lot more of that like classic like guitar shredder, and had all that kind of influence and technique. And so I learned a ton from him. I learned a ton from just learning the songs. Honestly, like Brad Noah was the original guitar player for the
Yeah.
first 15 years, and so learning his parts, I would just kind of pick up things like, oh, okay, that's how he does that. I see how he's like, you know, using these chords and these shapes. And so just kind of this slow thing of like trial by fire, honestly. And so if I go back and watch a video of me playing a Disciple show from, you know, the first year or so, I'm like, oh my gosh, the tone is so bad. Or not bad, it's like not right. And like I'm playing the parts, I'm playing the notes right, but there's no like attitude to it. And so yeah, and then honestly, Travis Wyrick, who produced a ton of Disciple
He's
albums,
awesome.
and amazing guy, produced the Attack album. So that was all of our first experience recording with Disciple, and he's a master at all that kind of stuff you're talking about. Guitar performance, attitude, like tricks and noises, and like just really pulling all the performance out of the guitar that you can. And so he was a huge influence and help for me, not just in guitar, but in production, because he has that same approach with vocals. And that's something that I've, you know, kind of implemented in my production kind of wheelhouse, is like just that really intense vocal performances and dynamics and all that. So anyway, yeah. So it's funny, like it's more so just people in my life more
Yeah.
than it is like classic guitar kind of influences. So I pick up on stuff like Andrew's a big Killswitch guy, Kevin's a big Killswitch guy, Brad was a big Killswitch guy. So I've got this Killswitch thing that I'm doing, not because I was a big Killswitch fan necessarily, but just picking it up from the people that are around me.
Osmosis. Yeah. I got you.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
again, for me, it's like I've always just loved performing. That's been first and foremost for me, and still do. Like getting on stage is my favorite thing to do. And so you know, the guitar playing kind of came secondary, and I'm glad that it's gotten to where it is now,
Yeah. It's great,
because it
man.
wasn't there for a long time. So
Oh man, you're too humble, man. Wyrick's great, dude. Nobody really taught. Again, much love. He's a great producer. He has some good stuff too. Like I remember his early days of the stuff he's made. He's a great singer too. So I'm just saying,
yes,
man. So
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
like I said, it's so funny to go back to that story when I was growing up. Like I'm 37, so like right at 2000, that time frame, like that's your guys' stuff and Wyrick and Clank and all those bands. There's only
Mm.
like it was like the midnight stuff. It was always like Amy Grant, and then also during the day, right, which is cool. Rich Mullins, and then late at
Yeah.
night, it was like, all right, cool, we're gonna bump some Disciple, maybe some, and they're a little heavier like Project 86 and things like that,
Yeah,
right? So
totally.
I remember Wyrick from that. It's cool, man. But with that being said, man, I know if you can't spill the beans yet, let's just say Nate's gave me some insight on some things coming up. If you can't
Yeah.
go there yet, it's cool. But with the what's next for it, because I know you've got, like you said, some shows and you guys are doing a lot with Disciple. But I know you've got many irons in the fire. What's the next year looking like for you and your personal 12 months as an artist?
Yeah, definitely. Like right now, I'm in the middle of 4 or 5 kind of projects. Yeah, Nate's is one of them. We're kind of co-producing his next project, which is super exciting. And then yeah, a bunch of other bands. Right now, I'm kind of in the middle of a bunch of like EPs or singles, like small batches of songs for a handful of artists. And you know, again, it's cool being in this world, and kind of to me, I feel like since I've been able to again be a Disciple and tour with a lot of bands in the Christian rock world, getting to work with a lot of those artists and write songs together, produce songs together, I like I love the idea of just kind of like trying to raise the bar across the board, for the output and the type of songs that come out of kind of this world and this subgenre or whatever you want to call it. um, and so that's just been a really cool fun thing. And I'm careful to try not to like just make all these bands sound like this,
Yeah.
whatever this thing is. It's like to go into each situation and uh just feel out what they are trying to do, what they're trying to say, what's important to them, and then help find the best way to express that in a powerful way and make moments in the songs and all those kind of things. So that's always a fun challenge, and I love it. And I'm kind of I mean, I have nothing to complain about in terms of like my balance right now, because I love performing. I have no desire to stop touring anytime soon. So getting to do that with Disciple, and then come home and have enough, work to fill my days with other artists, and then obviously working on like the Disciple stuff. And it's just a huge blessing. I can't believe it.
But I think it also goes back to, man, is you never had a problem. Just this is even like when you produce other people's stuff, and everyone that I've ever talked to that knows you has always said how much they love. You're just genuine. Like, hey, you're going to give them your honest feedback. You're also going to let them do what they want to do. But hey, here's what I think, and that's cool that you will give. Hey, here's my expertise, opinion, and then here's you do what you want. And I think that's gravitating. People gravitate to honesty in just real life, and you do a
Well,
good job of that. You know. So.
thank you. I appreciate that. I think a lot of that is because having been just a band guy for so long, and going into co-writes and going into studios and having like positive and negative experiences. For instance, like when Philmont we got signed to a major record deal by EMI here in Nashville. Huge, amazing opportunity. We couldn't believe it. Huge moment. And it was mostly a great experience. But they did have us come out to Nashville before we lived here, and for 2 weeks, me and our singer did 2 a day co-writes with different writers and producers. So in 2 weeks we probably had 20 co-writes with different people, and we were just like stunned, like coming out of it, like we had no idea what we were going into. We were not mature as artists or professionals yet, and so we had the wrong attitude, but we also just didn't really know what was supposed to happen in those situations. And so when someone said, "Oh, here's how your chorus should go," we bring an idea in, and they would say, "Oh, I think your chorus should do this." We're like, "What? It shouldn't. This is our song. What are you doing?" And so again, had kind of the wrong attitude. We weren't very open or collaborative. But having done all that, now I get that, and I sympathize with that when people are coming into in here. And so I try to kind of let that inform kind of how I approach it, because like you said, it's like I want this to be really good, and nothing's going to leave here that's below the threshold of what I would consider
Yeah.
good. But also trying to be sensitive and like kind of shepherding the process to where it's going to help someone feel comfortable, help someone help it feel collaborative, and that we're all just having a good time making this great song.
It's funny that people forget that music is also a business, even though it's great and it's a great thing. Music and sports, music is a business. So
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't want to, like, man, if you, I don't know, let's say you're building an airplane, you wouldn't want to have somebody not have an inspector watch you build the plane, right? So you're building a song, you're building something that's going to help somebody. And yes, it is emotions and all that, but it's still a product. So like you said, stamping your name on it. It's nice to hear that like there is a business side of it too, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, and again, it's the stuff that I try to like convey and help people kind of wrap their mind around, because I wish someone had done that for me
Yeah,
when I was that guy back then. And so just trying to show like, because I can feel what it's like. You can feel it out and kind of be like, oh, there's some resistance here. Maybe I should like back off on that and like try to help in this way instead, and we can focus on this other thing. But yeah, to me, it's just it's a level of care, because like you said, on the business side, it's like people are spending money to hire me for these services, and I'm like, hey, like this is where do you want the best version
yeah,
of what
yeah,
we can do here. And everyone's got different goals too. There are some artists who just want to like record some songs and that be it, and then there are artists who are like, no, I want to like record songs, get signed, tour, be
yeah.
full-time, everything. And so even then it's like there are going to be maybe some different approaches there, because for one person it might just be like, okay, let's just make the best thing that you think is awesome and that you can be proud of, and that's the extent of what they are needing. And so again, just trying to be sensitive to that and look at each project kind of uniquely.
Man, I could seriously listen to you talk all day long about this, man. It's fat. I eat this stuff up. I watch hundreds of interviews a week. The way you're talking about it, just I eat it up. But
Thanks, man.
I'm gonna take a moment and transition. I can
Great.
almost bet. I can bet you. We usually when Dane's here, we bet back and forth. I'd be willing to bet in all the maybe media or things you've done. I'd almost bet money that you've never had a segment like this. It's the one part that I did not prep you for. Now it's called Rapid Fire. So with this, I'll preface it. It's clean. We always keep it PG, but our fans are awesome. We get questions from all over the world, and they give us some very unique, odd, weird questions, and you got to pick one of the two. There's no backing out of it. You got to pick one. Okay. So normally, if Dame was here, we'd bet, and the winner gets lunch provided by the loser. Just have lunch on.
Oh, nice.
So, but I have my picks, and Dane sent me his. He's calling it of these 5. I think I'm going to come out ahead just because I've maybe studied some of your interests a little bit. So, first one, okay. Imagine, a lot of rock stars and a lot of musicians get called up to do movie roles. There's a lot of movie questions. So you get called up, they're saying, hey, you're taking a break from touring. We're going to ask you to be a part of the next round of this franchise. We want you to be a main character in one of these 2 franchises. You can be a part of the reboot of the next chapter of The Lord of the Rings. Great. Or the next version chapter of the new Harry Potter series. So Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, which one are you going to be a part of?
Definitely Lord of the Rings.
Let's go, man. I had it. I love it, man. I love it. Love it, man. Yes. So like I said, these 5 right here. So next one. So imagine we're going to go back to 1982. You're the same age. You're known as the guitarist that you are now. But they say, hey, somehow you time travel. And these 2 legendary artists say, hey, I guess maybe 85. We need you to fill in and help because our lead guitarist is out for the night. We need you to play on the spot. You get a call from Guns N' Roses or Clapton to step in and play. Guns N' Roses or Clapton, you gotta be there.
Guns N' Roses. Yeah.
Oh man, I just Clapton, man. I really did, man.
Dang, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
I just think my style is probably closer to Slash's
I got you.
as far as like what he does. I'm not anywhere close to him, but I think that's probably closer.
I love it, man. I love it.
Plus, I can wear like a big like hat and wig and like just kind of hide behind it, and be like, oh, whatever,
I'm Slash, yeah. It's 84. There's no digital cameras.
Exactly.
Gotcha. I love it. So a couple more of these are the rapid fire. So you also get called up. We're gonna say staying in the 80s for a second. So they see you do a great job, and then 2 of these bands, singer-songwriter bands, approach and say, hey, our lead singer is sick for the night. We need you to fill in and pose as the lead singer of one of these 2 bands for the night. Okay. So the first one, you can fill in for the night for the boss. You can be the Bruce Springsteen for the night. You can be him, or B, you can fill in for one of the 2 of Hall & Oates. So the boss or half of Hall & Oates. Which one are you going with?
I think I do Bruce. And again, that's like not necessarily that I like his music better than Hall & Oates, but for my own ability, because he kind of does that barky thing, and so I think you can kind of like I'd be able to perform it a little more just like convincingly, and my pitch wouldn't have to be quite as good maybe if I just kind of get out there and just kind of bark and rile the crowd up.
I love it. Yeah, man. I didn't have you for that one, so I had you just kind of I had you going, what I want. I could just see you walking out, but it's all good.
No worries, fun. Either way.
So I got 2 more of these, and I think this will make you laugh. So last 2, man. So I know there's been many different occasions where Disciples actually feature things like wrestling, WWE, all that kind of stuff. So let's just say we're gonna go. They're both in their prime, so probably early 2000s. They call you up and say, hey, we don't want your song feature. We want you to be one of our tag team partners. We want you to get into the ring with one of these 2 artists, and you're going to be the tag team partner. Okay. Your choice is you can be the tag team host with Rey Mysterio, or you can tag team with Bret Hart. Which one are you going in?
Rey Mysterio.
Oh man!
Dang, I'm sorry, man. I wasn't a big wrestling guy, but I had like the N64 game, and I always played as Rey Mysterio in that one. So yeah,
that's okay. I got you, man. I got you. So last one. So going back to the music thing for a second, we're gonna go back to the 60s through 80s here. Last one.
Great.
So again, you've been known for making lots of music and all these things, but you're hired alongside of staying with Disciple. Somehow Kevin is kicking in the 60s, right? You guys transplant back.
Right.
I love to see Joey with maybe the perm or the mullet, whatever. Who knows? But you guys go back in time, but you say, hey, we're not giving up on Disciple, but we also want you to join permanently one of these 2 bands as like another band, right? And the 2 bands that call you up is either A, The Clash, or B, The Cure. You can join one of those 2 bands full time also. Which one are you going?
The Cure.
Let's go. I finally got that one. Let's go. Come on.
Yes,
Got you.
definitely love the Cure. I like the Clash too, but the Cure is closer to my heart for sure.
Good. Okay.
Well,
Awesome.
sounds like you're buying Dane lunch. Sorry.
I am. I am. Yeah, Dane, I got you. So I'm sending him some ramens. They're on the way, man. So here
Dane
we go.
actually messaged me ahead of time and gave me the answers to I'm just kidding.
It's
That's
all
enough.
good, man. But just a little fun stuff. Hopefully, in interviews you've had in the past, I've had something quite like that. So
That was
thanks
great.
for being a
Yeah.
good sport. I love it, man. So the final segment, because again, I appreciate talking with you, but you want to be conscious of your time. The final segment is something that we call open mic. And the premise of this, the reason Dane and I started doing this early on, we want to showcase. We started with really the importance of showcasing female athletes, and then going beyond that, showcasing musicians and all athletes that really take a bet on themselves, that really believe in themselves, right? So if you were to go back, maybe even you said, tell your beginning self, or maybe someone that wants to be you, maybe a mantra or a piece of advice, what's something you'd say to those out there that want to be you? You know?
Yeah, that's very loaded, but it's there's some yeah, I would say like you said, believing in yourself, just kind of you have to just put the hours in. First of all, a lot of people, I would say, experience resistance with just the time and the discipline, and they burn out on it, or they fizzle out because they just can't commit to the time to just sit there and pour into it. You have to love it, and that's where the time comes from, is because you have to love what you're doing. That was like, I liked playing drums, but like I said, whenever I picked up the guitar and was like, oh, there's a song here, that's where I was like, I have no problem spending 8 hours right here doing this. And then when it came time to start a band practice, I didn't care how many practices we had. I would be at every one for however long it would take because I loved it. And so you have to love it. And if you don't, maybe there's something adjacent. Again, like drums for me was like the adjacent thing. And once I found the guitar and found songwriting was where it really clicked. So you have to really love it, and you have to love it enough to sacrifice other things, and you have to just work really hard. And nowadays it's trickier, I think, as far as like specific paths to success, because there are so many ways now that people can kind of, be quote unquote successful, with whether it's TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or whatever. It's like there are so many mediums, and there's whole subgenres on Spotify of, successful artists that stream millions of streams that I've never heard of any of them.
Yeah.
And not because I'm out of touch with like popular music, but there's just whole subgenres now where the artists are thriving. So anyway, all that to say, there's a lot of ways now. So there's not as much of a one size fits all, like, okay, do this, this, and this, and then maybe you'll get signed to a record deal. That's probably not going to happen. That's very unlikely. It's kind of like, it's kind of like pro sports or something now, where, signing a record deal is such a low chance of happening. Signing a record deal that actually, sets
Yeah.
you up for a long time, very unlikely. So don't count on that. What you have to count on at the end of the day is loving it enough that no matter what happens, you'll be glad that you did the thing. You have to, yeah, just resign to that on some level, while still having the ambition and like the drive to like make whatever can happen. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't happen, you should be able to look at what you've done and say, man, I'm so glad I did that. That was so
Yeah.
fun. I love the craft of it. And again, that's kind of like with the stuff that I'm producing here. It's like I want whoever leaves here with the stuff that we worked on to always be able to say, gosh, I'm so glad we did that. I love this song. I love how this song came out. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's probably the mindset that I would try to implement. And it's a lot of it's one of those things where you don't know until you know.
That's good.
You spend a
Yeah.
lot of time on something, and then you're like, you see the fruits of it, and you learn so many other auxiliary life lessons along the way. I have so many like life skills just from touring that were not at all like the intent of going on tour. But a byproduct is like this super, we talk about this a lot. Like we have this hyper ability to like adapt and be flexible in any situation to like make the show happen. Right. So it's like that transfers into life, where I feel like I'm just hyper adaptable to be able to just be in any situation. And if something goes wrong or something unexpected happens, just to find the next,
Yeah.
route. I don't know. So it's like stuff like that just comes with the territory as you go. You learn the other things that you wouldn't have even tried to learn otherwise.
I love it. And I think you said something, man. Because I always make notes and all that, being
Great.
adaptable. You also said something about Chris Nix. He worked with Jonathan Davis and a couple bands, Power Triplets. We had him on a while back, and he was talking about when you make something, like whether you're making it for yourself, whether it's you and Nate or the bands you're working with or Disciple. He said when you make something, period, someone's going to love it. It's
Yeah.
okay if someone is going to love it. And I think that's maybe when you talk about these artists. Because I'm with you. I'm like, who is this band I've never heard of? Why do they have 10 million streams? Who is
Right.
this? Right? It's just different. But you're like, you can't keep up. I remember there was a time, probably the twist of the 2010s or whatnot, where you could almost keep up with all of the obscure, all of the indie. You could
Yeah.
almost keep. Now it's so flooded with it's constant every single day
Totally.
in indie and all that. You can't really keep up with it. So I think your point of like, man, kind of making something and just doing it because you love it. And just because you love it, someone's gonna love that you love it, and they're gonna
Right.
celebrate that. You know what I mean? So
That's yeah, that's a great point. And I would say to that end as well, being just genuine and finding what you have to say. Because a lot of people, I think early on as artists, you're trying to sound like band X or artist X, or you're trying to do this or sound like this or write this kind of song. But you're going to find the most success when you find the thing that you have that's distinctly you, and like leaning hard into that and then refining that and shaping that into something, that's palatable.
yeah.
um but that's the thing that you'll always be able to continue to create from that place, instead of if you're just copying something, it's harder and harder to keep copying the same thing the same way. But if you're coming from this spring inside of you of like real, raw, genuine kind of emotion and experience, then you always have that to pull from. So that's what never runs dry. So you have to find that and lean hard into it. And like you said, people can tell when you're being genuine and real. It's like, I mean, it's like that guy with the West Virginia, what's that guy's thing, who is really
Oh,
popular
the
right now?
Oliver Anthony guy.
Oliver
Yeah,
Anthony.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like I'm not super following that, but like that's obviously like he wrote a good song that's 100% like him expressing himself,
yeah,
and he's doing a great job of performing it. But it's like people latch onto it because of how like honest and raw and
yeah,
vulnerable it is. So
yeah.
that kind of thing is infectious.
Man. And I think that's the best way to put it, man. Again, you can definitely tell there's no doubt as I try to land this plane, because I literally, you have to shut. I'll talk your head off for
You're
hours.
good.
You're literally the fact that you make stuff that you love. We love it. And but it also happens to be awesome that it's great. I love that you love it, but we love it too because it's great.
Right.
So
Yeah.
thank you for having
Yeah.
both ends of that figured out. But man, I just let it be known, dude, that open invitation. These are the things that I love doing this, picking your brain. Top deck musicians, I love to hear what you have to say. We can't wait till you guys come through. We'll be when you guys come close, we'll be there again.
Heck yeah.
So
Good.
we missed you guys. We had something come up last time you came through in February. So hopefully next time you come through, we'll catch you. Maybe we can collab or something, so hang
Yeah,
out.
man.
Just anytime you want to come back, maybe when you and Nate drop the new stuff and when you guys
That'd be
want to
awesome.
focus that, open invitation anytime. Thanks for giving us a lot of your time. The audience has been asking for you forever. I'm like, I'm
Oh,
working on it. So
that's so sweet.
appreciate this. But man, in closing, we'll give you back some time. Thank you for stopping along the way, and hope you have a great fall, and best of luck in all things to come. And we'll catch up very soon. Okay. So
Thanks so much, Josh. Thanks for
yes,
listening,
sir.
everybody.
Take care, brother. Take care. You guys, so that's I'm telling you, Josiah is as good and as real and as honest as it gets. And there's just not enough positive things to say about someone so inspirational and so real. Bands like that, artists like that. Again, I don't care what genre it is. It could be rock or country or techno or whatever. When you're producing something out of yourself and letting people hear who you are, you just don't get better than that. So I'm just blessed to be able to got the chance to track him down. Everyone that we've interacted with the Disciples has been amazing. Everyone that he interacts with him. It's just that you surround yourself with a circle of good people. So no wonder everyone just loves him and the band and all they do. So you guys, that was another. I have this bucket list, and now it's turning into like a 55-gallon drum instead of a bucket list of all these people that I had a chance to talk to. So that was another amazing experience for us. That'll actually wrap up the week for us. We'll go into Sunday and we'll hang out with John from JFH and Rex Carroll from a classic 80s band called White Cross is stopping by on Sunday. So we got a nice Sunday lined out. But that's actually going to take us to the weekend. Hope everyone stays safe and has a great weekend. Spend time with the loved ones and be safe. And don't forget that we love you. And as they would always say, thank you for listening.